Hey, everybody. Welcome to Perpetual Motion. I'm your host, Dr. Mo Anderson, best-selling author, award-winning podcast host, keynote speaker, and coach. This podcast focuses on wellness, communication, leadership, and relationships. Every episode, my goal is to help you review, renew, and renew. Today, my special guest is Michelle Woods. She's a midlife design coach who helps women on their journey to find fulfillment. This is for you too, fellas. Hold up. Don't walk away, because a happy wife, or a happy significant other is a happy life, brother. Michelle started her career as an educational instructional designer. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to ask her. And today she uses that same design process to help women stuck in midlife misery stop fantasizing about a life they wanted, woulda, shoulda, coulda in the past, and live fulfilled right now, today. Look forward. Touch 3 friends and say, I'm stuck, girl, but I'm ready to move forward. Then stay tuned for Michelle Woods.
You can't say Dr. Mo ain't tell ya that fear magnifies the consequences of failure. What are you scared of? Why are you afraid? I'd rather live like I'm dying than live to die. Any day, my heart is pure, my soul is safe.
Michelle, welcome to Perpetual Motion.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. Really enjoyed our pre-call, and I love all my guests because you don't get to be my guest if you don't get past the pre-call. So if people who listen to me regularly are like, she's always said, I love my guests. I love my guests. I do, because they're handpicked to bring you wonderful, useful, practical information to help you review, renew, and renew. So Michelle, you use midlife design to save your marriage. How did you do that? I mean, I'm always talking to people about surviving divorce and losing a partner, but surviving marriage and thriving. That's interesting. Tell me about.
Well, I got to a point in my early 30s where I was not happy at all. I didn't realize why I wasn't. I just wasn't. It really came down to my hopes for my life, the dreams I had for my life that I had been carrying with me since I was a teenager. I think in my 30s realized that they weren't going to happen. And I had made choices and done things that would prevent those dreams from happening in the way that I imagined them to be. So I was just super unfulfilled, and started making choices that would nearly ruin my marriage. And at the breaking point where I had to make a lot of decisions on whether or not I was going to stay in my marriage, or if I was going to probably not forced, but, I was forced with a decision. I decided to get real with myself and to figure out what it was that I wanted and why I was so unhappy. And I went into a process that I call midlife design, where I had to really get clear on what fulfillment meant for me as an individual beyond the, life that I had as a wife, as a mom. What did fulfillment mean for me? And then what I needed to do about that in order for me to get fulfilled. And so I had to go through a lot of spiritual healing, physical healing, just to really understand what that meant for me. And that was part of the process and part of the journey. And I'm happy and proud of the work that I did on myself and the work I did, eventually to come together with my husband and work on our marriage and be in a place that I truly feel like I am in the spot that I'm in my marriage. I'm happy about it. I'm happy about the choices I made to be here.
I'm glad you had the courage to do that and the courage to share this story. I know you have a thriving coaching business that we're going to talk about, but beyond that, there's so many people out there that need to hear about this. They just feel kind of stuck, or they're afraid to take the next step, afraid of change, not realizing change has already happened. That's why you are where you are. And you went from that la, la, la to, oh my God, how can I fake my death?
That did actually cross my mind.
Yeah, girl, change is inevitable, people. It's going to happen. You can direct it, or you can just be caught up in it, but it's going to happen. So I'm glad that you saved your marriage and that you and your partner are well. You're a teacher by trade. We're talking about midlife design, and a lot of people say transformation and things like that, but I really like this term. Is this instructional design, midlife design? Is it what you majored in, or how did you even get into this area?
Yeah, so actually I am a career educator. So I have been working in education for a very long time, was a classroom teacher, finished my graduate work, and my graduate work was in instructional design. And so for, it's been about 16 years now, I've worked in the field of instructional design, writing curriculum for districts, working one-on-one with teachers, doing instructional coaching in schools. So after I kind of went through my transformation, I went to coaching school where I got certified as a life and leadership coach. And in that process, realized that both the skills that I carried as an educator and as an instructional coach were molding together into a life coaching business that I honestly had no idea that I would even do. It was just never on my radar. And so I've been doing the work for so long that I can't help but think about everything in an instructional design process where you begin with the end in mind and you work backwards. So when we do instructional design, when I do life design with my clients, that's exactly what it is. We think about, well, what is the end? Or in a coaching situation, it's like, what does fulfillment mean to you? Mm-hmm. If we know what that target is, then we can make that a target, and then we can kind of work backwards so that the steps and actions you take lead to what fulfillment or what that target is. So the two kind of run parallel with each other, but that is why I call it midlife design. And it really is just a molding together of all of the skills that I have.
Nice. And the process sounds like it's structured and very intentional, as opposed to, just the random way we tend to go about things, having one accident after another until we finally get it right. So that is interesting. Do you come from a family of educators? What made you decide to be a teacher? And I ask because my parents were educators, and my daughter-in-law is a teacher. And I really thank you for your service. And I don't say that tongue in cheek.
Thank you.
Within the curriculum design, having worked your way, through the system, that is a really, really hard job. I think very fulfilling, but really hard work.
Yeah, absolutely is. Blood, sweat, and tears, that is for sure. But no, I do not come from an educator's family. My parents actually, I grew up in Detroit. My dad was a, blue collar worker. My mom was a secretary. I was a first generation college student. So my two sisters are one did education, the other one's nursing. So we kind of had these female rolled jobs and careers, but that's all good. So no, I am the first educator in my family. And that was just something that kind of fell into my lap after a few things that I wanted to do didn't work out. And ironically, though, in high school, I had a teacher that would tell me all the time that I needed to be a teacher, because really? I would, teach his class, and I did a lot of mission work and traveling when I was in high school. And so I would come back and report on that to my classmates. And yeah, this one teacher was always told me, you need to be a teacher. You need to be a teacher. I was like, no way. I'm not doing this work. No way. And that's exactly what
Yeah. It is a gift. It is a gift. I don't have the patience for it. I've said many times on this program, because I could barely get through homework with my two sons. So I couldn't even imagine a classroom full of people looking at you with that, that look of, I don't understand. I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, so,
but that's the work that I love, actually. And the same goes for coaching. It's like when someone doesn't understand or they can't put the pieces together, I just have an uncanny gift of breaking things down so that people can understand and apply it. And that is my favorite part of the work, both if I'm working in schools or if I'm working with clients.
And I wish you guys could see how she lit up and the smile she has now. It's clear that she's in the right vocation. And you and your sisters went into helping healing professions as well. So your folks did good. And I just got to add, I love the way you said Detroit with that extra E is only natives.
The D, it's the D.
It's the D, it's only natives of that city can do. Quite one of my favorite places. So, well, let's go back to the midlife misery, which is so very common. That blues, it has so many different names, and I think it gets associated a lot with the empty nest kind of syndrome. But if you were in your 30s, that was earlier in life. And I don't think that's uncommon either, just not talked about as much, kind of going on in isolation. So let's talk about midlife misery.
Yeah. You know what? This is something that I have learned recently. I think traditionally we have thought about midlife misery or midlife crisis happening in the 40s, but it has shifted and it is happening much earlier. And this is just something that I have found through my own research, through talking with clients and being approached by potential clients, is that this transitional part in life is happening for a lot of women in their earlier 30s. And now, I don't know if you've heard the term quarter life crisis, but that really is hitting individuals between 25 and 35. And
wait, let me stop you because I'm not sure I heard you correctly. Did you say hoarder?
Oh, no, quarter.
Quarter. Oh, quarter life crisis. I'm like, what? I know
that would be a different problem.
QVC and stuff. I'm like, are they hoarding now? Is that what we're doing? I thought it was
no, thank goodness, no.
We're hoarding. Well, I'm old. I can't hear. So if I don't want to get anything wrong, and I thought, I don't know anything.
I'm glad you clarified. I am glad you clarified.
Quarter life crisis. I haven't. Enlighten us. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay. So quarter life crisis is happening for like the 25 to 35 age range. And is super similar to midlife crisis, but it is really hitting the millennial generation where they are struggling to make decisions. It's like a decision overload, and they're coming, they've spent years in school working towards a career. They get into the career and they don't want it. They want to change, or, the added student loan debt, or all of the different things that as a group they are struggling with, and they're struggling with just being able to make a decision, just being able to find purpose and meaning in their life. So that's one group of people. And I just started a new coaching program for quarter life crisis millennials. And then you have the midlife crisis individuals who are the closer to that 40-year range and beyond. And yeah, traditionally it has been associated with empty nesting. Your kids are starting to show independence. They're ready to move out of the house. You start to, like in my case, your evenings all of a sudden are free. And what the hell am I going to do with my time? Because I've got, oodles of time left in the evenings. And, there's a whole lot of time, it seems like.
And it's so quiet.
Yeah, it's so quiet. It's so quiet. And you're staring at your spouse, or if you're not married, you're filling your time with friends. And it's a time of reflection. And I think that naturally things settle down and you start to have time to think and wonder, okay, am I fulfilled in the work that I'm doing, or in the state my life is in, the stage I'm in, or is there something more? And how do I figure out how to get and be more?
I remember having those thoughts, and because we are, you know, so oriented to think about achievements and acquiring things, that I almost felt guilty that I was thinking like, is this it? No, this is not at all joyful or happy. It looked great in the magazines. This was before we had technology bringing us images of everybody in the FOMO, which I think probably, I can't even imagine the quarter life situation right now because of all the things they're inundated with. It just made me kind of sad just thinking about it, really. That's why I just kind of paused there. So regarding the technology and the differences, is that switching on you a little bit though, but that's just what came to mind, whether you're in your 40s or in your, quarter life position. Is that part of it, or has it always been there, this sense of unfulfillment for some women, not everybody, and we're just now acknowledging it? What are the factors contributing to this, what it seems like an epidemic of it?
I think it's multifaceted. I think there are a lot of competing interests on our happiness. And
oh, wow, that's good. That's a good way to put it. Wow.
Yeah. And when we aren't protective of who we are, those competing interests can really wreak havoc. So you mentioned technology, and we know technology has a positive influence. And also, when not monitored, when we use it too much, or when we're inundated by it, I mean, it has an impact on us. I know, and I fall victim to this all the time. That constant comparative mentality where you're just comparing yourself to the things that you see. And I saw a post the other day, or actually, I think it was today, and it was, the grass is always greener on the other side, but what if the grass is fake?
Wow.
What if the grass on the other side is fake? And I thought, that is actually probably more true than anything else, but that's not where we go when we compare ourselves to people we see traveling, or people we see having a happy life, or anything. Who's to say that that's real? But yet we compare ourselves to that. And we need to be aware. And I think I say it all the time. I just think awareness is the first step. If we're just aware that, we're susceptible to it, we can be influenced by it, then we can take the next step, which is to protect ourselves in whatever way that works for us.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Beyond marriage or relationships, how do you design the life you want? How do you get back that sense of fulfillment and purpose? You said the protection, but I'm thinking, specific strategic steps, takeaways, some things folks can start doing today, tomorrow.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's a matter of getting quiet, and really start to tap into your tuition, your inner voice, your knowing, because sometimes that gets really muddled and it's hard. It seems abstract, but getting quiet and figuring out really what we want is important. But I think when it comes to being intentional, because that's what you mentioned before about midlife misery, or midlife design seemed really intentional. It is. And we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't have this down to a science. I mean, you have good days and you have bad days, but if we can be intentional with how we want to feel, who we want to be, who we don't want to be, it allows us to be authentic on a daily basis. And I think authenticity is really important in the process too, when we are able to really focus in on who we are authentically and stay true to that. And that's also part of that intentionality of the process.
I'm curious, when you realized you needed to make a change in your life, and of course we're continuous improvement, we're trying to personal growth all the time. That's my thing. But when you realize where you are and you make that decision to, change your life and, be accountable and responsible and to make steps in a different direction, now you've got a partner because you were married when you started this. Now you got a partner who is in this place with you, and now you've decided I'm going to be different. How do you navigate that? How do you bring them into it? Do you just wake up and go, hey, I'm going to do some different stuff now, I'm going to be quiet?
That is such a good point, because I'm excited that you picked up on that, because that part is not easy at all. And what I did, I'll say what I did, but I think it's part of my story. I don't know if everybody can apply it the same way, but for me, I had to really come to the hard truth that I was in charge of me. There wasn't a single thing that I could do that would change my husband. I could lead by example.
Right.
I could make sure that the things that I felt were important to me in my process and in my spiritual walk, that I did those things. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have any expectation for him to do those things, because that would just inevitably anger me, because he wouldn't. He's got his own journey to take. Right. But in the midlife design process, it was allowing myself to let that part go and to really just focus on, who do I want to be? And can I be that person in the container that I'm in? And for me, the container was my marriage. So how can I exist as Michelle, who is 100% fulfilled and 100% happy, but also still be in my marriage and still be 100% devoted to my kids, to my husband, and the things that we wanted to work together on, but never walking away or not being true to who I wanted to be.
Right. That's deep. I like, and I shared this with you before, I like that you work through this within your container, within your marriage, because a lot of times people have to get out of the container. And I'm not going to say they feel like they have to. I'll just say they have to, because I came to that conclusion, and everyone does it for a different reason. So I am by no means judging people, but I've had so many people on talking about, their life after divorce or after loss or whatever, but changing within that container. We're staying together, but I'm going to change.
Yeah.
And I hope you'll change with me, and let's grow together. That's not a story that I hear very often. And it's a good one to hear. It's encouraging as well. And to know, just for people to know that you can, that, leaving is not the only solution. It's not the first solution at all that I would recommend to anybody. I never recommend divorce anyway, but at the same time, my life is my story. So good for you and good for him as well, your nameless spouse. And we're going to leave him nameless so he doesn't get inundated with questions from men going, hey, what did she do?
He would not like that.
She's so successful and happy. And
he wants to stay in the shadows.
Yeah, I understand it. And that's how it works for us outgoing, gregarious people. We need a shadow person.
That's right.
Somebody has to listen. So
that is right. Absolutely.
It seems to work.
It's the balance. It's the balance. Yes, ma'am.
So I mentioned earlier accountability. We've thrown the word goals out there a few times. What part do goal setting, specific goal setting, and accountability play? And do you need an accountability? First day with the new lips. Accountability partner.
I have never heard that before.
I just made it up, I swear. I just made it up.
An original.
I saw a Botox thing on Instagram, a lip filler thing, and that's what just flashed in my mind. I hardly need that. But at any rate, what was I talking about? Accountability and goal setting. What part do those play?
Well, I've traditionally, we always are talking about goals and goals and goals, but I really, I mean, there's a time and place for goals, but I don't know. I don't, in my coaching, I don't like, we're not goal focused. We're journey focused. It's about the process. You're going to get there. When you set an intention, we set an intention every single time we have a conversation, a coaching conversation, and we're moving towards that intention. And I 100% believe that for the client, the learning is taking place in the process. So I just say that because I don't focus like a ton on the goals. I just think life is too fluid for that. And it can't be black and white. But at the same time, accountability is extremely important. Accountability has to be built in to a coaching process because, especially when it comes to a client relationship, you're in a partnership. You're as a client, you're asking the coach to hold you accountable so that you can set the intention and move towards whatever that intention is.
Right.
And so it is my responsibility as a coach to make sure that you are progressing and that there is a relationship of honesty between the two of us so that when you're not doing what you're committing to, that we can have a candid conversation about what that means. And does something need to shift, or do we need to have a different conversation about commitment? So I build in accountability through a couple of technologies that I use, and I make sure that I've got a touch point with my clients on a weekly basis. We use Voxer, which is like a walkie-talkie app. So yeah, I'm touching base at least once a week and in between our sessions, just to make sure that the client feels confident that they're moving forward. And if they're not, then we talk about it. We also celebrate the good stuff that's happening because there's always great things to celebrate.
Absolutely. And we need to pause and celebrate those and recognize them. I'm often in the car with friends and we'll be passing and they know I'm exclaiming about the sunset, the flowers on that tree, the whatever, just not taking it for granted because I've have a major chronic illness and I've been hospitalized a lot of times. So when I'm outside and there's sunlight or rain or whatever, I just realize how extraordinary that is. Something I used to take for granted. But now it's like, this is something to celebrate. This is something to be grateful for. So many people wish they could just be out taking a walk today. So it's good that you're sharing that with your clients. And regarding goals, for me, it's outcome, it's a direction, because I remember that famous line in Alice in Wonderland when she asked the Cheshire Cat, "Which way should I go, sir? Could you give me directions, please?" And he says, where do you want to go? If you don't know where you want to go, right, I can't give you directions.
Exactly.
So, and that is something unfortunate I see with a lot of adults my age, around the boomers, just to bring them in a little bit, is that they really haven't made up their mind about a direction. So yeah, aimlessness will give you a sense of misery as well. We don't want to be wandering in the desert. So you need to have something that you're headed toward if you really, really want to make a change. Otherwise, we're just going in circles, I think.
Yep. And that produces all kinds of feelings of resentment and anger, frustration, all of it.
Yeah, the snark and the sarcasm and the silence and the yelling and a lot of that. And it's just unfortunate and unnecessary. You grew up, and I was listening to one of your videos today on Facebook, and it was really, really good. It was right after stay at home started in 2020. And you mentioned that you grew up in the Pentecostal church, and there are a lot of famous people associated with the Pentecostal church. Denzel Washington, Elvis, the King. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Naomi Judd, God bless her soul. She passed away recently. What was your life like growing up? How do you feel that might have impacted you in midlife? And I ask because I find myself becoming my mother.
Oh God.
Despite all the times I swore that would never happen. So I'm just kind of bringing it full circle.
Yep. Yep. Well, yes, I was born and raised in the Pentecostal church. My parents were, they came from alcoholic families. So I think in like the 70s, there was the Jesus movement, and they had some friends that brought them to the Lord, and then they were born again. So I, was shortly born thereafter. And my parents attended an Assemblies of God church. And yeah, it was, 3 days a week, Sunday all day. I wonder if they even do this anymore. I don't even know, because so much has changed, but it's like, yeah, Sunday all day long. You might go home for lunch or something in between. And then Wednesdays was youth group, and then there was the Bible studies in between.
Me, yes. Baptist, same thing.
Yep.
I asked my mother one time, did we have the only key? Do we have to be here every time they're open? Gee.
Yes. My dad was not a deacon, but I felt, or he was like later, but he didn't, because we were pretty active kids. So he wanted to make sure he was home for us. But yeah, I felt like a pastor's kid most of my life, even though I wasn't. I just felt that kind of pressure. So I ended up going to a university that was sponsored by the Assemblies of God as well. So my intention after graduating high school was to become a missionary. And yeah, so I went to school to pursue that dream, and met my husband. We were married by 20, and yeah, life didn't work out that way. So yeah, but definitely heavily influenced by the church. And I think my life in my 20s and probably in my 30s, I have very distinct moment of separation from the church. And today I don't affiliate with a church at all. We don't attend church, and we're not raising our boys to in that either. But there was a time in my life where I realized that there was a lot of dogma and a lot of tradition that didn't make sense to me. And, made intentional choices to walk away from the church. But, I cannot deny the impact that had on my life, and the impact that had on who I am today. And I'm thankful for it. I truly am thankful. And it has taken me a very long time to feel that way about it. But I am thankful for the way my parents raised me.
Right. And that's when we know we're at a place of healing too, that, we realize that things didn't happen just to us. They happened for us, for us to carry it forward and help others. And and what I took from it was honestly a lot of discipline that I use to this day to learn, whether it was learning how to sit still, or I'm fairly certain I'm a keynote speaker because of all the programs I had to be in, and the encouragement and the MC. I mean, I was voluntold to do so many things that now are part of my life. And I'm pretty sure it's because of those early days, spending so much time there. So there was good and there was not so good, but I'm, things happen the way they're supposed to. So thank you for sharing that. I could see your eyes. You were kind of going, how the heck did we get on?
It's not very often I get to talk about that. I mean, honestly, ever, like that doesn't get brought up. So it's actually kind of nice to talk about it.
Well, and it was good to hear about it too. And that's one of the things I enjoy is hearing. I want the 360 view of people, not just what I do, but who I am. And you're sharing that. So thank you for being open to that. So let's talk about what you do though. What is the difference between a life coach? You've mentioned clients and your coaching, and I'm sure you're good at it. What's the difference between that and a therapist, counselor? Help us out here.
Yeah. This is a super important distinction to make. And I know it can be really confusing. So I try to stick with a metaphor that helps everything kind of coalesce into a visual picture. So coaching versus therapy or psychology, first and foremost, therapy, psychology, all of that, that is extremely important. Mental health.
Yes.
There is a time and a place for it. And when it's needed, it's needed. But the difference, in the way I like to look at it is like you're driving a car. And if you are looking in the rear view mirror, that would be coaching or that would be therapy. I'm sorry. So that's therapy. You're kind of looking in the past. You're trying to identify things that you want to fix or you want to work through, and you hire a therapist or a psychologist to help you do that. Versus coaching, where you're looking through the front window, the windshield, and you're really forward focused and you're looking ahead, you're looking into your future, and you are, identifying where you want to go, and in some cases, who you want to be. If you want to be a, better person, or you're focused on your purpose, or you're focused on that feeling of fulfillment. So simple metaphor, important distinction to make between the two.
And a great, very relatable metaphor. What's the thing that when you're coaching a client, and I coach in the areas of wellness and speaking and publishing that I was sharing with you earlier. But what is for you, what is the best feeling in coaching when it could be you're thinking about a specific client or just a moment that you reach? And I'll just share, even from dentistry, is that when I see them look in the mirror or the camera and they smile at themselves, when their face just lights up, and it's not vanity, it's pure joy, because together we've achieved a result that makes them just feel good and youthful and hopeful again, and attractive, which is
that's important.
A lot of what teach is about. That's a good one for me. I won't get into my coaching part, but from you, I want to know. I just wanted to give you time to think. I wanted to know what is your favorite part, your favorite moment when I did this and I'm happy I do it. This is why I do it.
There really are two parts of the process that just light me up and that make me want to just continue to do it time and time again. There's the time that's in the session where, and I ask all my clients when we start a coaching session for them to set an intention for our time. And when we get to the end, we get to that hour and we come back to that intention, and there is a literal shift in the way they're thinking, in their perspective. It usually comes out like, oh my God, I've never even thought about that. Or just an attitude, just being grateful for having 60 minutes to talk through something that has been bottled up for ages, or just a feeling of lightness that they express of just having the opportunity to talk. So that's one part. And the other part, the other part is, I call this windows of opportunities. And it is not mine. I cannot remember where I got it, but I think the most powerful time that happens is after the session, because when you start to open up yourself to the universe and what the universe has for you, and you kind of put yourself in a space where you're open to things, there are these windows of opportunity that kind of get dropped into your, I don't know, just kind of like either into your mind or into your weekly experience. And it's the time between the sessions. And so when clients either let me know through a phone call or something in between, they're like, oh my God, you will not believe what just happened, or just like these synchronicities that start to occur. And I can see them get really excited. And it just is proof time and time again that coaching is powerful. It works. It really moves people. It really helps them out. And when they're given just the time to dig in just a little bit and spend some time on themselves, there's some really powerful, legit magic that happens. And it's exciting.
Absolutely. It's exciting indeed. Well, congratulations to you. I hope you keep having those moments, and your clients do as well, that bring you both joy and move you forward in your life's design in a very positive direction. How can folks get in touch with you? I think you've got some freebies if they go to your website. Tell them how to connect with you.
Yeah, the easiest place to connect is through my website at woodslifecoaching.com. My email is michelle@woodslifecoaching.com as well. And there's lots of ways to reach out through my website and get on my newsletter, my VIP newsletter for more information. Or there's lots of freebies that are out there as well that I would like to offer.
And I would encourage them to connect with you and follow you. And I think you're on LinkedIn as well. I think I heard you say that. So lots of ways they can communicate with you and learn more about what you do. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michelle Woods. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mo.
And wasn't that a great program? Oh, love that episode. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Learn more about me on my website, drmoanderson.com. That's MOE. You can read book excerpts, watch videos, learn about my services that I offer, and book me for a speaking engagement. I'd love to talk with your group, and I'd love to work with you. So until the next time, review, renew, and renew. Thank you.